Namaskar. Welcome to the next lesson under analysis methodology. The lesson number 3, the favorable and unfavorable houses for an event. In the previous lesson, I was explaining you about the self-significations and the important points to be considered under the self-signification study. Further to that, we have to go to study a complete signification of a planet through level-wise study. It means from the planet level to the star level to the sub-level. Source, effect, and result. That way, we have to study a planet complete significations to know its strength and weakness for a particular event. Prior to that, it is important to know something about the favorable and unfavorable houses for an event. And next one is that the tables involved in studying the complete significations. In this lesson number 3, I will be explaining you about the favorable and unfavorable houses for an event. Under the chapter number 1, lesson number 2, the points involved are in the favorable and or the principle involved in the favorable and unfavorable houses. I have explained in that. Based on the principle in favorable and unfavorable houses for an event or for the lagna, for each and every event, all the 12 houses are grouped under favorable or unfavorable. It means a planet can have some houses in cuspal lordship, occupying house, cuspal star lord ownership, and cuspal sublord ownership. That will remain the same for all the events. But that planet can be favorable for a particular event through its self-significations, or it can be an unfavorable event for a particular unfavorable planet for a particular event through its self-significations, because of the houses it is signifying. So, but the planet self-significations going to remain the same for all sort of events. But for the, depending on the event, the 12 houses are grouped under favorable and unfavorable, as I said. Favorable houses are grouped under A, B, and C, and unfavorable houses are grouped under D1, D2, and D3. A, B, C, that is, A means for a particular event, there will be some primary important houses that is coming under A grade. There will be some secondary houses for a particular event on the favorable side that will be coming under B grade. There will be some supportive houses under favorable that will be coming under C grade. So A, B, C for on the favorable side. On the unfavorable side, if you see, unfavorable means we call it as D grade. That means detrimental. So that within the detrimental also there can be some range. D3 means the planet, the houses which are all completely unfavorable, or how you're talking about A, for example, for the event of marriage, 7th house is the primary house, favorable house. On the unfavorable side, 6th house is going to be the D3, more unfavorable house. And D2 means secondary houses on the unfavorable side. For example, 8th house and 12th house are coming under the D2, obstacle causing houses. And D1 houses are less unfavorable, and but they are also coming under unfavorable, but only with the grouping of the houses only that can be unfavorable. One more thing you have to keep it in mind. The houses can be under D1 or D2 or D3, but only by grouping of these houses they can become detrimental or unfavorable. A single house cannot become more unfavorable. Equally on the favorable side also, a single house, we cannot say with the single house, we cannot say that planet is a good planet for the particular event. that planet's favorable strength is also based on the grouping of houses, and unfavorable houses based on the grouping only. Unfavorable strength also has to be found out. But for the sake of grouping of houses, all the 12 houses are grouped under ABC as favorable. D1, D2, D3 are under the unfavorable. But as I said, only grouping some houses and the unfavorable can support to the favorable also in the absence of unfavorable. Those things and all I will be explaining in the events when you're going to study. For example, if you take fifth house for the event of profession, it is in general, it is coming under the unfavorable, because fifth house is 8th house to the 10th house and 12th house to the 6th house, which are all primary favorable houses. Though fifth house is coming under the unfavorable, say D3, unfavorable, worst, but fifth house alone cannot be considered as detrimental unless and otherwise it is joining hands with 8th house and 12th house. Suppose fifth house is, because fifth house is favorable house to the Lagna. When fifth house is connected to the 11th house, it is going to be favorable. Fifth house is not only non-supportive for the sixth house matters, it is also important house for the happiness, a luxury life, and less work and intelligence. A lot of things are there in fifth house, because that is the our Purva Punya. So, though fifth house will be coming under the unfavorable for the event of job or profession, only based on the unfavorable grouping, that unfavorable house strength also will be there. That we have to keep it in mind. So there are many events in life, but actually we have got the software. In the software, there are more than 70, 80 events are already built in, important life events. So based on the events, based on certain strategy, A, B, C are given and D1, D2, D3 are given. But you can alter that event, you can edit that, you can see that, no, D1, I want to keep it in D2, you can do it. So you can do on your own also. That is the, bit element in the software. You can edit, or you can add on own event also. By adding your own event, you can create own event with distributing the houses under A, B, C, and D1, D2, D3. That facility is available in our EPS Star software. So based on the houses given under, the houses also will be shown in the tables, which I'm going to explain in the next lesson, with the colors. But please understand, just with the houses, colors, we should not come to a conclusion that this planet is having 5th house, 8th house, 12th house. Individually, no house is going to be unfavorable or favorable. Only grouping, making that strength, favorable strength is increasing and unfavorable strength is increasing. So there are many events. So in the future chapters, when I'm going to study about the case studies, practical case studies for each and every event with many case videos, in that I will be explaining under for each lesson, each event, I will be explaining about the theory and of course the rules, everything. Under that, I will be explaining the favorable and unfavorable houses and how to study those things. But still, I would like to show you some of the important events. For that, what are the ABC and D1, D2, D3 for your, for USC understanding. Two important events and the grouping of houses I have given here. The event, for example, event marriage. A, B, C, they are all favorable. D1, D2, D3, they are all basically unfavorable. As I said, only grouping will make that unfavorable strength is more or less or supportive also. A means what? Primary house. D3, primary unfavorable house. This is primary favorable house. A, for example, 7 And for the B, 2, 5, 11 are secondary houses, and 1, 3, 9 are C, supportive houses. So all these houses are coming under favorable, and D1, D2, D3, they are all unfavorable. D3 is unfavorable primary house, sixth house. 8 and 12 is D2, and 4 and 10 are less unfavorable. Only when they combine with these houses, the impact is going to be more. Combined grouping only will make that unfavorable house strength is more or less. For the child, for the first child, for example, 5 is A, 2, 11 is B, 1, 3, 9 is coming under the C. Of course, 7 also will join hands with this. 1, 3, 7, 9. And D3 is 4. All the other 6, 8, 10, 12 are coming under the D2. It means they are all obstacle causing houses for the childbirth. Profession, job, 6 and 10, two houses are coming under A. For example, for the abroad travel, 3, 9, 12, three houses will be coming under A. And B grade, you can see B grade, mostly the second house, 11th house, second house, 11th house will be coming. Abroad travel, second house will be coming under D3 because second house and 8th house are D3. Second house is what? 12th house to the third house. Third house is living, travel. But 12th house to the third house is second house, and 12th house to the ninth house is eighth house. So it is given under D3. But please understand, second house will not be unfavorable for abroad travel unless and otherwise it is combined with the eighth house or fourth house. Because the person who is traveling abroad in the planet in the which period he is traveling abroad, he may be traveling abroad for his career purpose, for the job prospects also. So for that job, definitely that planet can have second house also. Second house is also not only 12th house to the third house, it is also house of, finance, money, earning also indicated by the second house. So second house, when a planet is signifying along with the tree, it is also indicating that he is traveling and also for the earning. But when second house is connected to the eighth house, grouping only, it is going to indicate that it is 12th house to the 3 and 9. Similarly, fourth house alone, if it is present, though it is indicating homeland or house, it is not support. Third house means 12th house to the fourth house. When 4 is present, it is indicating it is supportive for the homeland. It can say that he is going to be there in the homeland, but that also we cannot completely decide. Suppose he is going for travel, for the education. He is pursuing the education. Definitely there will be role of fourth house. Suppose he is going there and he is going to purchase the property there in abroad, there also he will get the fourth house. Fourth house is where he is living. So, but basically, these houses are given under unfavorable only for the travel. Suppose if you say somebody wants to travel abroad, basically these houses are grouped under D2 and D3. But as I said, only the grouping of these houses will make that unfavorable houses. If suppose the favorable houses grouping are strongly present, unfavorable houses are less strongly present, definitely the planet is going to support. Anyway, I will be explaining with more examples on the broader travel with the different case studies. In that you will understand. But what I'm trying to say, even if you take the software will have D1, D2, D3 houses, and those houses also will be shown with a different color in the tables. You should not come to a conclusion that, okay, they are all having unfavorable means unfavorable. No. Grouping is important, that you have to keep it in mind. Similarly, as I was explaining for the job, profession, 5 and 9 are D3. 6 and 10 are A, 5 and 9 are D3. But 5 and 9, suppose the person is into creativity, is into entertainment, is into, for example, is all nowadays all software, everything. So the fifth house also will be strongly playing because it is the house of intelligence and creativity. Fifth house will be playing role. So in case fifth house, when it is playing, definitely fifth house is indicating some instability, but only when it is joining hands with eighth house or 12th house, five will be converted into, five will be getting its unfavorable signification because of the unfavorable grouping. Otherwise, if it is connected to the favorable houses through the intelligence, through the creativity, or through the Purva Punya, he will get the gain. So that way we have to understand. But as I said, for the sake of grouping of the houses, they are grouping under D1, D2, D3. But only thing is, only with the grouping of houses, only we can say the intensity of the unfavorable is going to be more or less. Then similarly, the property. Property 4, 1, 2, 6, 11. 4 is favorable. 1, 2, 6, 11 are going to be B grade. And of course, 10,000, 12,000 are under C grade. 12 can be B grade also because 12 is going to be last to the Lagna. But 12 is also indicating investments or expenditures for the purchase of the property. Investment is also going to be supportive. But you can see the third house. Third house is, because it is fourth house, D3 is getting the third house. 12th house to the fourth house. Though third house is coming under the D3, the third house coming connected to these houses, we cannot say it is going to be completely unfavorable. As I said, third house is connected to 8th house or 12th house. It means trouble giving houses to the Lagna when they are all connected. When 8 and 12 grouping, not 12 alone, 8 and 12 grouping, or 3, 12, they are present. 12, though it is coming under supportive, when it is connected to 3, 3, 12 is unfavorable. You understand? So grouping also, it is important. Third house is communication. All these things also, third house is important. Leaving your own house and purchasing house, a planet can indicate both. So for that, no, that third house also can be playing role. So only we have to study carefully the grouping of houses, unfavorable or favorable grouping are present. So on what level they are present, accordingly we have to exactly understand that planet's strength. But as I said, 4 is A, 3 is D3. 5 and 8 coming under D2 because 5th house is 11th house to the seller, and 8th house is 2nd house to the seller. We have to sell, we have to pay the purchase the property, means somebody is going to gain. So 7th house is the party, and 9th house is actually 3rd house to the 7th house. It means that person is going to lose his property. It means, for example, his property, that opposite person's property is 10th house. Our property is 4th house. He is going to lose this ownership, means 9th house. So that way, 9th house is coming under, it has to come under actually C grade. But since 9th house, we cannot say it is 9th house is going to be detrimental to the 4th house, because 3 and 9 are also important houses for the communication and documentation, and somebody has to release, somebody is losing its ownership. So that is favorable for the 4th house, but it is supportive to the 7th house by the 3rd house to the 7th house. So it is given under the 9th house, under the C grade, D1. D1 means very less unfavorable. So it means what? Grouping sometime, why we have given this D1, these houses, why D2? So there can be some confusion, some sort of contradictory things also going on, depending on the event, depending on the planet. Okay? Because when the planets are having this such grouping of houses, that the color of the planets, that what the planet is having for the particular event, that will vary. So I'm repeating, though some houses are grouped under D1, D2 and D3, only the grouping are going to make if that planet is unfavorable is more or favorable is more. I hope you would have understood. Similarly, suppose for the event of, education, fourth house is come for the primary house. On the same side, D3 will be third house because 12th house to the fourth house. But just with the third house for the education, we cannot say third house is detrimental to the education because third house is communication. Third house is thought process. Without third house, without learning, a person cannot do the education. So third house is actually a supportive house or important house for the education. But when third house is connected to the 8th house and 12th house, which are all trouble-giving houses to the Lagna, so that there will be some sort of problem or trouble in understanding or learning, obstacles in the studies. So I'm repeating, though D3 houses can be unfavorable house to the particular event, but that houses, if it is supportive houses to the Lagna, and unless and otherwise it is connected to the unfavorable 8th house or 12th house to the Lagna, that unfavorable D3 will not be detrimental. That you have to keep it in mind. Next one is the health. Health also you can see Lagna is given under A. 5, of course, under A. On the opposite side, 4th house and 6th house have been given. 6 is definitely it is going to be unfavorable because it is the disease causing house. Why 4? 12th house to the 5th house. 5th house is, we can say it is immunity or cure. 4th house is lack of immunity or irresponding to the recovery or the treatment. So this is also 11th house to the 6th house. 8 and 12, of course, unfavorable. But you can see Lagna, when we are talking about Lagna, but Lagna it means it can be favorable to the Lagna or unfavorable to the Lagna also. Suppose 1 is connected to 5 is good for the health, but 1 is connected to 6 is not good for the health. So A grade house itself can become unfavorable when it is connected to the unfavorable D3. So the houses given are only for idea, but only based on the grouping of the favorable and unfavorable, we can say the intensity of the grouping or the planet's favorable strength and unfavorable strength. I hope you would have understood. Under the health also, you can see 3rd house, 9th house, 11th house are coming under favorable. But you can see 9 and 11, I have given some indication because under the health, suppose this Lagna is Sthira Lagna, that native. For the Sthira Lagna, 9th cusp is going to be the Badaka Lord. For the Chara Lagna, 11th cusp is going to be the Badaka Lord. So, though 3, 9, 11 houses are coming under the supportive favorable houses, but for the Chara Lagna, that 11th house considered as the unfavorable because that is considered as the Badaka Lord. So, that 11th house will be coming under the unfavorable. 9 will be coming under the unfavorable for the Sthira Lagna. So that way we have to keep it in mind. And of course, in the software, according to that chart, whether the chart is Chara Lagna, Sthira or Ubhaya Lagna, the software itself will have the houses of, Badaga houses will be shown under the unfavorable. And for example, finance, 2nd house and 6th house or A grade. 2nd house is, of course, is important house. 6th house also considered for the important house for the finance. But finance, suppose if you buy, if you, get a loan, 6th house is important. But when 6 is connected to 8th house, increase in the loan and connected to 12, it is going to become unfavorable also. Intensity of the loan will increase. It can lead to debt. But 6th house is also earning because somebody is going to work and get the money, and 6th house has to play a role. To know the finance position, 2nd house, 6th house, 4th house, 11th house are all going to be favorable. But as I said, that house, how it is going to be connected to the unfavorable houses. Based on that only, that house matters also. Favorable will be, strength will be increased or decreased. I hope you would have understood. On the unfavorable side of the finance, 12th house is coming under the D3. And 8th for the second house is the finance, money matters of the Lagna, and 8th house is the finance of the opposite person. So for which event we are talking about, for which purpose you are talking that finance, accordingly, this has to be considered. Suppose 8th house means somebody is earning money, unexpectedly is earning money through the 8th house matters, through the gratuity or insurance or sudden gain. 8th house also important. 8 and 11 are connected. 2, 6, 8 and 11 are connected. Definitely the person will be earning some sudden gain. But 8th house is in general obstacle causing houses to the Lagna, and also second house to the opposite person. So that way, 8th house can be grouped under D2 or D3 for the finance. Similarly, 12th house. 12th house means expenditures. It has been considered as expenditure. To know your bank balance or financial position, 12th house is strongly playing means then he will not be having strong money, money balance, but he will be, because he will be, doing a lot of expenditures. But 12th house also an important house for the investments. Suppose somebody is doing business, in that planet will be indicating earning also. It may be indicating he is doing investment, and through that he is earning. And also 12th house also as can be considered for the, present in abroad. His his job prospects connected to the abroad or investment. So 12th house also cannot be considered completely is unfavorable to the finance, only in case if it is also connected to the favorable 2, 6, 11 houses. If 12 is connected to 8th house or 5th house or 9th house, it is going to be unfavorable. So it means what? Though unfavorable houses are grouped under D3, detrimental, or D2 or D1, but based on the grouping within them, or based on the grouping with the favorable houses, that intensity of the unfavorable can change. That you have to keep it in mind. I hope you would have understood. That the way how we have to take a planet is unfavorable or not. Just with the one house, we cannot come to any conclusion. We have to find the significations, that grouping of houses, a planet, what it is having. Based on that only, we can say the two, each planet's signification we are talking about, self-signification and overall all planets' complete significations. That way, when we study, we will come to, better understanding about this. I hope you would have understood. I hope you would have understood about the basic concept, and for the events, how the favorable or unfavorable houses are grouped. Though they are grouped under, favorable, unfavorable, their strength also based on the grouping only. That we have to keep it in mind. Okay. In the next lesson, I will be explaining you about the important tables required to study a planet's complete significations. Thank you.